Ben 10 mom say this. Thank you, my God, for not leaving my son. You cover him. Red heart emoji. Well, good for her, because he ain't gonna be able to walk no more, according to rumors. Ben 10 paralyzed. They didn't make it public yet. I'm gonna catch your name and pick out when I post this. Okay, bro, please. So, LOL. I don't want to be in none of that BR mess.
There's one moment in every situation where everything could still stop, where people can walk away, where nothing irreversible has happened yet. But once that moment passes, there's no going back. And in this case, that moment was when a gun hit the floor, because what happened next changed everything in seconds. Now one man is in critical condition, fighting for his life, and another walked out of that same building without a single charge. So the real question is, how did it reach that point? Because this wasn't random. It didn't start inside that restaurant. It started earlier with something personal, between J. Prince Jr. and All-Star Jr. Reports suggest there was already tension connected to a woman, specifically All-Star Jr.'s child's mother, and situations like that don't stay quiet for long. Because when personal relationships turn into conflict, it stops being about logic. It becomes about respect, about pride, about who feels disrespected, and who feels they need to respond. That's how things start building. Not publicly, not loudly, but underneath everything. And once that tension exists, all it takes is the right moment for it to surface. That moment came when All-Star Jr. was in Houston. Now that detail matters, because Houston isn't just another city. That's where J. Prince Jr. has influence, reputation, connections, presence. So when it became known that All-Star Jr. was there, this wasn't something that got ignored. It turned into movement. People started communicating, decisions were made, and slowly, everything started aligning. At the same time, another person entered the picture, NBA Ben 10. And this is where things get important, because he wasn't part of the original issue. He didn't have personal tension with anyone involved. He wasn't there to confront anyone. He showed up for one reason: loyalty. He's known for being close to NBA young boys circle, someone who stands with his people. And that's exactly what put him in that building. Not conflict, not drama, just presence. But sometimes, being present is enough to get pulled into something serious. Now fast forward to that night, Houston, a restaurant called Confessions. Inside, everything felt normal. Music playing, people talking, servers moving between tables. Nothing about the environment suggested what was coming. And in that same space, All-Star Jr. was preparing to leave. That detail matters, because he wasn't staying around. He wasn't trying to create a situation. And he was heading toward the exit. But before he could leave, everything changed. A group approached him. Not one person, multiple, positioning themselves in a way that blocked his path. At first, it looked like conversation, but the tone shifted quickly. Voices got louder, energy got heavier, and within seconds, it stopped being words. Someone reached toward him. Chains were grabbed. Space closed in. Now he's surrounded. No clear exit, no room to move freely, and in situations like that, things escalate fast. Because once physical contact starts, control disappears. People started swinging. Punches were thrown. Bodies moved into each other. The entire area turned into chaos. Fast, unpredictable, and completely out of control. At that point, it wasn't about who was right or wrong. It was about survival. What? Because when one person is facing multiple people, the situation becomes dangerous instantly. And then, the moment happened. In the middle of that chaos, a gun dropped. No warning, no buildup. It just hit the floor. And in that split second, everything changed. Because now, it wasn't just a fight anymore. It was something else. All-Star Jr. saw it first, and he reacted. He picked it up. Now think about how fast that moment is. There's no time to think, no time to plan, just instinct. Seconds ago, he was outnumbered. Now, he had control. And that's when shots were fired. Multiple, back to back, loud enough to freeze everything. The entire room shifted instantly. People ran. Tables were left behind. The fight stopped immediately. Because once a weapon is involved, Everything else becomes irrelevant. When it was over, 2 people were down. One both seriously injured, and one of them was NBA Ben 10. He had been hit multiple times. Upper body, torso, severe injuries. He was rushed to the hospital, placed in ICU. And from that moment, this situation became something much bigger, because now, it wasn't just about what happened. It was about what it caused. Reports started spreading quickly that his condition was critical, that the injuries were serious, even rumors that they could affect him long-term. Some even saying he might not walk again. Now, that specific detail hasn't been officially confirmed, but what made people focus on it was the silence. No detailed updates, no clear statements about recovery, just confirmation that he was alive. And that's when reality sets in. Because surviving doesn't mean everything is okay. It doesn't mean life goes back to normal. And that's what makes this situation heavy, because the person who took the most damage wasn't even part of the original problem. He showed up. That's it. And now he's facing the consequences. At the same time, another detail stood out. All-Star Jr. was not arrested, no charges. At least not immediately. Which brings everything into the legal side, because now the question changes. Was this self-defense or something more? From everything being reported, he was surrounded, outnumbered, being physically attacked. And the weapon? It wasn't originally his. It dropped during the fight. That detail is critical, because under the law, self-defense allows someone to protect themselves if they believe they are in danger, especially when facing multiple attackers. That's why, so far, no charges have been filed. But the situation doesn't stop there, because there's another layer, and that leads back to J. Prince Jr. If investigators determine that he played a role in setting the situation up, calling people, or bringing individuals together, then legally, that changes everything. Because responsibility doesn't only apply to the person who pulls the trigger. If someone creates the situation, they can still be held accountable for what happens next, especially when the outcome involves serious injury. And this case has all the elements: witnesses, cameras, multiple people involved, which means the investigation is far from over. Because cases like this don't move quickly. They build, detail by detail, statement by statement, until the full picture becomes clear. Right now, everything is still developing, but the impact is already there. One man is fighting for his life, another is free, for now, and a third name remains at the center of the situation, which brings everything back to one point. This didn't happen instantly. It was a chain reaction. Personal tension turned into confrontation. Confrontation turned into violence. Violence turned into a shooting. And once it reached that point, there was no stopping it, no reversing it, no fixing it. And now, the consequences are permanent. Because when you look at everything together, the outcome wasn't about who started it. It was about who was there when it escalated. NBA Ben 10 was there, and now he's the one dealing with the aftermath. That's how situations like this work. They don't always affect the person at the center. They affect whoever is closest. When things go too far. And that's why this situation stands out, because it shows how fast everything can change. One moment, everything is normal. The next, everything is different. And once that line is crossed, there's no going back. Now all that's left is the outcome of the investigation, because sooner or later, the full truth will come out. And when it does, it won't just explain what happened. It will show exactly who is responsible for how it ended. At the end of the day, this situation is still unfolding. New details can come out at any moment, and what we know right now is only part of the full picture. One thing is clear, though. One moment changed multiple lives forever. Now, I want to hear your thoughts. Do you think this was self-defense? Or do you believe there's more behind the scenes that hasn't been revealed yet? So drop your opinion in the comments below. If you made it this far, make sure you hit like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you don't miss the next update on this story. I'll be covering every major development as it happens. Stay safe, and I'll see you in the next one.